All right, welcome back, everyone. Kaitlyn, I'm so pumped to have you on here. You're extremely hardworking, have a lot of accolades in the swimming world of being in swimming in college, 28-time All-American, qualified for the Olympic trials twice, correct?
Yes.
So you've done a lot in the world of athletics. Now you're in CrossFit. So we want to dive into all of this and understand who Kaitlyn is, how she views success. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So first off, you start swimming at a very young age, right?
Yes, 4.
4 years old. What was that like? Because a lot of people get into sports, but like that's a pretty daunting sport to get into because like there's just water and people can drown. So what like drove you into that at a young age?
Honestly, like nobody in my family swims. Like my parents can swim to save their life, but we're not competitive swimmers. But we grew up, my grandma had a pool, so I don't know if like that was part of it, but my mom just like threw me in the water and I just learned how to swim that way. So I have an older brother and he was on the swim team. So I went through swim lessons and you have to like obviously graduate. Mm-hmm. And I got to like the last level and they were like, actually, you don't need to be here. Right? We think you're ready for the swim team. Mm-hmm. So I ended up joining the swim team at age 4. And at that point you're like an 8 and under. But I was an 8 and under for 4 years because I joined so young. So I think my first race, my mom told me it was like, at that point, you're only swimming 25. So it's just like down.
Yeah.
And I like barely made it. But they said I could be on the swim team. So there I was.
That's cool. Did you try any other sports when you were younger or was it just swimming?
I did gymnastics and swimming at the same time when I was little, like basketball and soccer, like a bunch of stuff. But I think I stuck with gymnastics and swimming the longest. But then I was realized I was like pretty good at swimming. Mm-hmm. I was like breaking the 8 and under records and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm not going to do gymnastics anymore. And then high school came and just did sports for fun, but swimming was the main.
Yeah. That's very interesting because under 8 years old, you're breaking records. Were you able to realize that then being like 6 years old, like, hey, I can do something with this? Or is it just like, I'm doing this for fun? When was the moment you were truly like, hey, I have a future in swimming?
It honestly probably wasn't until like high school that I started getting serious. Like you're deciding if you're going to swim in college or not. Mm-hmm. And at that point I hadn't really, I swam and I was like I liked going to swim practice, but I wasn't like pushed very hard. So like most people in high school were like doing doubles at that point, and I was still just like doing one practice a day, like lifting here and there. Like I just didn't have anybody to push me. So it really wasn't until like later I was like, oh, I guess I can swim in college. Like I got a couple Division I offers, small Division I school offers. Ended up going Division II and got really improved a lot from there. But it was like definitely later. I was just doing it for fun. Mm-hmm. Like I don't come from a big swimming area, so I don't think I thought anything of like breaking records. It was just like, oh wait, I did it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you commit to Clarion.
Yes.
You go to school in Pennsylvania. Now is where it starts to get more serious, right?
Yes.
You get on a better program and you take it more seriously. Talk us through the college process. Like, why'd you pick that school, and how was that just a good fit for you?
It was funny because we always had, I'm from Pennsylvania originally, so we always had our like YMCA state meet at Clarion, and I hated that pool. Like I think I went there once and swam the 200 IM, which I'm not. I can swim butterfly and freestyle. Like I don't even know why my coach put me in the 200 IM. That's not for me. But I think I like choked on water, just had a really bad race, and I was like, I hate that pool. Like I don't want to go there. But I really liked the coach, so she talked me into coming on a recruiting trip, and I ended up like loving the team. So it was far enough away from home that like I couldn't. It was like 3 hours from my hometown, so it was like I was having the college experience without wanting to like go home every weekend. But it was close enough that if something happened, like I could make it home. My grandma was in her 90s at that point. I was very close to her, so I didn't want to go to like Florida. My mom really wanted me to go to college in Florida, but I didn't want to go that far away in case something happened with her. So yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, a little bit closer.
Was there a mental switch for you of, okay, high school, I'm just doing this because it's fun, I'm pretty good at it, and then now college, things get a little bit more serious. Like this is now, probably on scholarship or something where it's like, I need to take this seriously, like it's a job, perform, there's a bigger stage and everything. How did you mentally adapt to that bigger pressure?
So it took a little bit. Like I said, I was like never really pushed before, and like I took swimming seriously in high school. Not that I didn't, but I just wasn't around any. Like I'd never been on a team like that where like I was doing it for the team rather than just myself. And obviously you're in college, you're away from home, there's just partying involved. So I would say my freshman year, like kind of had to get all that out of my system. I mean, still training very hard and was very successful. But I feel like the difference between my freshman year, how I viewed it, to my senior year, like I definitely phased out of the whole partying thing. Like, okay, I need to take this more seriously. Like have a really good opportunity here and this and that. So I definitely went through some things that I had to like figure out like, oh, I need to get it together. Like I'm on a scholarship here. This is a real thing.
What did a day look like in college for you?
So it was funny. I don't know if like most programs do this, but usually you have like a Sunday and a Thursday off. So you train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. But in college, I don't know if they thought we would not go out because we had Saturday or Sunday morning practice, but we always had Sunday morning practice. So I'd swim Sunday mornings, double on Mondays. Tuesdays, we'd swim in the morning, lift in the afternoon. Wednesdays, we had off. Thursdays, swim in the morning, lift in the afternoon. Fridays, double swim. And then we'd have like a swim meet on Saturday. So it was
okay. That's
a big difference from like high school when I was just
for
like,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. And especially like you add classes and everything else onto it. Like you're doing pretty long days.
Yeah.
And that gets you ready for, I mean, your life now, like we were just talking before. And you say, I wake up at 5:15 and go about my day because like you're just used to that at this point. Talk about like the routine of getting up early, like getting your stuff done. Cause I mean, you still work a great job and everything, but you're still in the gym, you're swimming. Talk about the importance of like prioritizing your health and your goals outside of like societal norms.
Yeah. So I feel like before I moved here, I mean, I work from home. I make my own schedule, so I don't necessarily work like a 9 to 5, 8 to 5, whatever. And even though I don't come to the gym until later, I know that if I don't wake up, because I've done it, I've woke up my whole life at like 5 a.m. So I've tried to like, if I wake up at 7, it's not that I get anxiety, but I'm kind of like, oh, like where'd the morning go? Like it just like gets away from me. So yeah, I like to wake up at like 5:30. Like have my coffee, walk the dog, this and that, and then go to the gym a little later. But I feel like it was hard at first. Coming here, I found myself sleeping in a little bit more. When I lived back in Pennsylvania, all my friends went to the gym at 6 a.m. because they worked like real jobs that they had to go into. And I was like, well, I'm going to go at 6 a.m. just because that's when my friends go. So then I moved here and I like didn't really know anybody. And I was like, dang, well, I don't have to go to 6 a.m. anymore. Like maybe I'll sleep in. But then like it took like a month or so and I was like, okay, like this is not good for me. The days are getting away from me. So just like back to that normal schedule. And I feel like so much better.
Yeah. I think a big game changer for people, productivity and just performance, is having a role model in life to be like, I want to be like this person. So your coach at Clarion was also a 28-time All-American, right? You were able to look up to her and say, this is the person that I want to follow. This is the person I have to listen to because she's my coach, and she did very well in her sport. Talk us through like how that impacted you going from freshman to senior, all of the accomplishments along the way. What role did she play in all of it?
So it was actually really funny. I didn't really put it together until after it happened, but my freshman year is when she got inducted into the Clarion University Hall of Fame, like for her 28-time All-American status. So there was always like a big banquet. It was like my favorite time of the year because all the alumni would come back and it was like a whole lot of fun. But I got to watch her get inducted. And so when I went into college, like I like to say I wasn't that good at swimming, but I just like got so much better. So I was like, wow, that's really cool. But it wasn't really something I ever like thought about. But she was just like such a, like I said, my freshman year, I kind of got into partying and this and that. And she was the one who sat me down and was like, listen, like you've improved so much. Like you don't want to throw this away. You got to get it together. She was just always like super patient with me. So then like as time went on, and she actually ended up taking a different role. So she was only my coach my freshman and sophomore year. But even as she stepped away from like the swimming, she was still like there for me with the weight training and this and that, and just like I babysat our kids who are now this year like going like committed to college to swim. Cool. So it's just like so crazy to see that we still have this relationship. But she's just like always been there for me for anything like personal life, swimming, just anything. I could call her up today and be like, hey, this is going on, and she'd sit there and talk me through it. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you accomplished a lot in college. What was like the biggest moment for you? Was there a specific meet that was like, this was it? This was like defining moment for me?
So obviously, like, as I got better in college, the goal, my coach, she was a 28-time All-American, but she was also a national champion. And when you were a national champion at Clarion, you got like your picture on the wall, like in the pool. And I was like, that would be so cool. So like we'd train and you'd like run around the auditorium, you'd see like everybody's different pictures and stuff like that. And I was like, I really want mine up there. So every year, like I did well at nationals, but was never a national champion. Like there was always somebody better than me. So my senior year, we have a mid-season meet where like you taper, and those are like the times that you are seated with going into the national championship meet. So I did really well mid-season and was seated like first in all 3 of my individual events. And I was like, yes, this is it. Like I'm finally going to do it. So like that was a really cool moment. And so I was hoping that the national championship would be the time, like the defining moment, like this was it. And then I got there and got like in my head about it. And so ended up not being a national champion. And so I would say, but that was like such a defining moment in like my whole career, like especially like up after that. Like it was so terrible in the moment, but now I'm like, that was like probably the best thing that could have happened for me. So
How come?
I just feel like if my college career had ended the way I wanted it to, I probably wouldn't have like kept swimming maybe, or like I would have been like, I did it, like that was enough. And I might have like not kept trying, and it also just like helped me grow. So it was really hard to go through, but.
Through all this, did you have a desire to make it to the Olympics? Like, was that a goal, like on the vision board? Hey, I'm going to be in the Olympics someday?
Not until, I mean, obviously like growing up being a swimmer, I always watched Olympic trials and was like, that's so cool. But I never thought that like I would ever get to that point until probably my senior year of college when I just had gotten so much better. I realized in the Olympic year. So I graduated college in 2011. 2012 was an Olympic year. So my times were short course and Olympic trials are long course. But if you convert the times, they made like the qualifying time. And I was like, oh shoot, like maybe I can actually make it. Like this is for me. So it probably wasn't until probably my senior year of college.
Yeah. And then you end up qualifying for trials in 2016.
I did. Yeah. So I tried in 2012 and I missed it. But my coach, who I told you was with me throughout my whole career, actually took me to it because you have to have like a sponsoring coach. And at that point I was just like training by myself. So she took me to a meet at Ohio State to try to make trials and was like kind of coaching me through that. And I missed it. And just like looking back on like the growth, I remember when I missed trials in 2012, like I got out of the water, I like threw my cap and goggles at the wall. Like I was so mad. And like, honestly, I would like never do that now. So, like that's not something I would ever do now. So
yeah. What was that moment like? Because you're 5 years outside of college now in 2016, or you're qualifying for trials. So this is no longer like you're required to do this for school, but you continue to work on your craft. What kept you going in those moments? What was training like?
So when I was at that meet for 2012, when I missed it, she had introduced me to another coach that she was friends with that was from Ohio. So he actually offered me a job at an Olympic training site, and that would allow me to keep training. He's like, hey, like, I mean, I was trying for the 50 free, which is like a very mental race. And he's like, you're obviously talented. Like, I think you should give this another go. Like, you'll be working, you'll be making money, you can swim at the same time. Like, you don't have anything else lined up, might as well do it. And I was like, okay, you're right. Like, he was a great guy. And I figured I could trust him if like she was friends with him and like thought it was a good idea. Yeah. So it was kind of just the encouragement from them. Like, hey, you should do this. Yeah. So at that point it was a little rough. Like I was training by myself at the time, just like me and that coach, like every single day. And so when you look at the Olympic training cycle, it's 4 years. So you kind of like, you don't need to train so specifically like 4 years out. So I had to like bump up my training a lot. And that was just like not something I was used to as like a sprinter. Like he had me doing some really long stuff. But in that time period with him, like I got so much better at like other events that I didn't even know that I was good at. So it was just like a lot of fun. Like he made swimming fun for me again after like so many disappointments between like not being a national champion and missing Olympic trials. Like he like really changed my career at that point.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So far you've touched on a little bit about the lifting aspect. You've been lifting weights high school, college, just because it was part of your curriculum. And now you take it much more seriously, right? Yeah. So in the gym, I've had so many people mention or say like, you see what she's doing? It's just incredible, like the way that the intensity you work out at, and obviously like the weights and the movements you do are just like it's so unique to what people are used to. So you do a great job with that. But like, where did you always know you could be a good lifter, or is it just like, I want to try something new?
No, absolutely not. Like there were a couple things that I was like good at. I've always been like really bad at squatting, but my very first like real strength coach that I had when I worked at the Olympic training site in Ohio, I'm still friends with him as well. He's actually up in Dallas now. So he like makes fun of me. He's like, I always told you could be so good at working out. You used to hate it so much, like hated lifting weights. He's like, I told you this was going to be your calling. Isn't so nice. I was like, you're right. Like this, I actually do love this, but it took a while. Yeah.
Yeah. What does training look like for you now? Like you're into more of like a CrossFit style, but what got you into that?
So again, my college coach, we were trying to switch up because we didn't have an actual strength coach in college because it was Division II. So she just did our weight program. And she started doing CrossFit and she was like, you know what? I think this would be great for everybody. So we started doing CrossFit a little bit in college, but she would just like make up hard workouts. Like if it sounded hard, we were doing it. And so we did that for a couple years. But like I said, she, went a different direction. So we just did a different strength program once the new coach came in. But after I quit swimming, I was like, well, I need something else. And I tried to just like go to the gym and do like a strength thing. And I was like, this is boring. And like CrossFit was like just taking off at that point. And I was like, maybe I'll try it. So I was like, yeah, this is it. Like having people like suffer with you. Yeah. So that's probably what started it. But even then, when I first started CrossFit, like I was scared to lift heavy. I was like, I don't want to hurt myself. Like, I don't think I can do it. And the gym that I was at the time, they were like, had been to like the CrossFit games, were like really good at CrossFit. And they were like, Kaitlyn, like you can do the weight. You have to stop crushing everybody in these workouts because you don't think you can do it and you're doing lighter weight. Like just do it. So they kind of pushed me to like not be afraid of lifting heavy.
That's cool. What goes through your mind when you walk through the gym doors? Because like I said, your workouts are pretty intense. Just this past Saturday, Ryan was walking through, like taking pictures, doing his workout, and he like comes up to me, he's just like, his jaw is dropped. I'm just like, what? And he's like, you see what she's doing? And you're in a handstand position, tapping your shoulders, right? And holding it. Yeah. And then we're watching you and you just get up and start doing pull-ups right after. Like it was nothing. So
that day, unfortunately.
It looks like so normal to you, but like to other people, you're just like, what is going on? Because it looks crazy. You walk through the gym doors, are you like go into a different mindset or is this just normal to you?
Yeah, so that's like one of the things I'm like super grateful for in my life because so many people are like, how do you like find the motivation? And it's like, honestly, like I don't want to go every day, but this has been like my whole life. Like I feel weird if I don't go to, like I don't feel right if I don't go to the gym and do like just move, you know? So it's just like part of who I am at this point. So it's like, even if you don't feel like going, you just go because that's what you do.
Yeah. Interesting. One of my favorite parts of your story is you start training CrossFit pretty seriously and you're swimming 1 day a week. And then you just all of a sudden stumble into another Olympic trial. Can you tell us that story?
So yes, I was actually decided I wanted to start taking CrossFit seriously and try to qualify for a competition. And the only reason I started swimming again was because the competition that I wanted to qualify for had a swim event. And I was like, okay, like if I'm winning any CrossFit event, it's going to be the one with swimming. So I'm going to swim like, all I need is like 1 time a week for this, like just recovery. But my friends were out of town one weekend and there was like a local swim meet. And I was like, I've been doing it. Like, why not sign up? And I ended up swimming like really fast. I was like, oh shoot. But I think part of it is like CrossFit is like always so different. Like one day you'll go in and you'll have like a 30-minute workout and the other day you'll go in and there'll be like a 2-minute workout where it's like all out. So you're like always training those different energy systems. So even though I hadn't been in the pool for so long, when I did go into the pool, I was just like practicing technique and stuff. So like between having the right technique and also having the strength from like doing CrossFit and like training those energy systems, I think it just was like the perfect storm, like all I needed. Just from a 50, of course.
Yeah. Going into that event, were you in the mindset of, I want to perform well, win? Like, did you have pressure on yourself?
Oh, no. It was like a little like backyard meet. Like there were kids there. Like I did not expect to do well at all. I was like, my old coach had asked me like, because you have to be entered with a time. And I was like, oh gosh, like I have no idea. Like I don't know about this. And I was like, I don't know. Enter me with like a 27.5 and I ended up going like a 26.0. Wow. And I was like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I like kicked these little kids' butt. Sorry, I didn't know it was going to be like that.
I think it's interesting when like some people perform their best, there's no pressure involved.
Right.
Like, I was talking to an athlete the other day and he was just like talking about how, you know, he feels a lot of pressure doing these certain things. He's trying to go to the NFL. And I was like, let's talk back to like a moment where you performed at your best. And he was telling me the exact plays in his college career. He's like, I was put into the game, we had to do this, and we achieved it. And I was like, okay, what'd you feel going into the game? Like putting on your helmet, you go in. He was just like, no, I just trusted myself.
Yeah.
And like sometimes, you know, these big moments, we put too much pressure on it, and we're thinking, I need to do X, Y, Z. I need this time. I need this performance. But oftentimes, the best we perform is when we're just like, I just trust myself. I'm just going to go do my best, do what I have prepared for my whole life. And that's when you show up as your best self.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Like I had spent years doing CrossFit that like feel like I'm not good at. Like you have to be so strong and do like, it's funny with CrossFit because you could go to a competition and you're forced to do things whether you're good at them or not. Like if you suck or you can't lift the weight, like it doesn't matter if you're good or not at that movement, like you have to do it to get through it. And swimming, it's like, if I'm not good at breaststroke, I just don't swim breaststroke. Like I swim freestyle. So being forced, like CrossFit forced me to like face weaknesses, I feel like. So by the time I got back into swimming, I was like, if I can do all this stuff that is really hard for me in the gym and I make it through that every single day, like there's no reason why I can't swim 26 seconds doing something that I've done my whole life. So I think that was like part of it too. Like CrossFit is hard for me because it's just not what I'm good at. And so I just like literally had nothing to worry about at the pool. It's just like, just do what I've been doing my whole life.
That's a good mindset to have because almost your whole life you were trained to, here's what you're good at, here's what you're going to do. The rest, just forget about it, right? Like focus on the events that you're best at. CrossFit, like you're brand new to this. You have to be a beginner again and be like, hey, if I don't know something, I have to learn it. I have to get good at it. If I'm not, just got to try it.
Yeah.
Like literally a couple weeks ago, you were talking about a new program you're starting. You're like, I don't know how to do this movement. And you're like making this post about here's what it's supposed to look like. And here's what I look like. So like you almost have to have humility behind it of, you know, I am good at these things and this is brand new to me, but like, I'm going to still do it.
Yeah.
And people lack that so much because
I was going to say,
great.
People like to, if you're not good at something, like don't work on but I'm like so big on working on your weaknesses. Like it sucks, but it makes you a better person all around.
Yeah. So how do you feel like you try something new and it's a weakness to you and you fail? Mentally, how do you respond to that and actually do it again the next day?
I just feel like I've grown so much. Like I know back in the day, if I had done something and I'd failed, like I'd be so upset. I'd beat myself up over it. But now it's like with CrossFit, I literally fail every day. And you just have to learn to like roll with the punches. And it's like, it's okay. Like you're not going to be perfect at everything. Like you just try to get better and like be your best self every day. That's all you have to do. Like it doesn't matter.
That's so good. You moved to Austin very recently, within the last 4 months. And you've really integrated yourself into a good community here, fitness. And one thing you touched on before this was the vibe here is not let's go out and party. It's let's meet up to work out. Let's go meet up to have a walk or something. How has that changed your productivity or just like your overall satisfaction in life of like, this is now something that I enjoy to do. It makes me better rather than like, hey, I'm delaying that long-term success because I'm just going for the cheap thrill.
Yeah, I feel like when people think of Austin, like there's two things you think of, like partying and all the drinking you can do, or like the fitness community. So obviously I moved here for the fitness community, and I like really like thought hard on the way. Like before I moved here, I was like, I really want to make sure like I'm making friends with the right people, doing the right things to make friends, like going out and drinking on the weekends. Like when I work so hard in the gym and like dedicated to like my food and this and that, like I don't want to blow it on the weekends and like live like that. So it's just been like such a relief. Like I don't think since I moved here that a single person has asked me to go out and get a drink. It's just like, and sometimes it's funny, like I have to say no because I've like done so much. I'm like, okay, I do need to recover a little bit. Like I can't go work out when I've already worked out 6 days this week.
Yeah,
It's just funny that like, but there's always something to do that's like good for you. It's not bringing you down.
Yeah. How did you know Austin was it for you?
I don't know. It's just something about, I lived in San Antonio years ago, so I've always loved Texas, but it's just every time I'm here, I've just always loved it. I already knew people here. So I was just like, I'm going to do it.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Last month you did a podcast with Tim and Zach, and you were talking about not going to compete in CrossFit. This is not like my future. And then you say today, sign up for a competition.
Yeah, I did do that.
So talk us about what sparked that interest to get into that.
So I have some friends that are doing the competition, and I was like, oh, like I'll come cheer for you. Like I can't wait. You guys are gonna crush it. But one of the girls is trying to qualify for the CrossFit Games, and they like changed the qualification process, so she has to do this competition individually rather than on the team that she qualified with. So they were looking for a female to sub in for her and couldn't find anybody. So like they weren't going to be able to do it if they didn't find somebody. I'm like, guys, I do not like really do that much CrossFit anymore. And they were like, come on, like it'll be fun. And that's like all I need to be convinced to do something is like say it's going to be fun. So I was like, okay, well if we're just having fun and we're not worried about like winning it, like I'll do it. Like everything, like I looked at the workouts. I was like, oh, they don't look that bad. Like they do look like fun. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, they're probably going to be like pretty terrible, but it'll be fun. So I guess we're going to do it.
Yeah. How intense are you training right now for this?
Well, it's not this weekend, but next weekend. Mm-hmm. So after I had worked out all last week, and then it was like Friday maybe, I told them that I would do it, confirmed that I would fill in for them since they hadn't found anybody. But I'm going out of town this weekend. So I was like, oh shoot, I've got to stay in shape though. So I've like worked out every day since then, and we've like tested some of the workouts. So feeling pretty sore and run down right now. Yeah. So maybe like the 3 days out of town this weekend is needed.
Yeah, seriously.
Good recovery. So
that's good.
Yeah.
A lot of what you're doing requires a good mindset. Mm-hmm. You know, you need to be showing up as your best self, overcoming those failures and that beginner phase like we talked about. What are you doing on the mental side and like personal development?
In general or just for this competition?
In general, yeah.
Honestly, like it's just like doing things you're bad at. So I know you asked in general, but like even this competition, I was like, I don't know if like mentally I'm like, I can't do this. Like they had asked me like a month ago and I was like, I can't do that. And then I was like, you know what, maybe I can. Like I looked at the workouts and it's I actually competed at this competition individually like 3 years ago. And my worst workout was the strength event. And now there's a strength event this year and it's probably going to be like my best workout. So that's like really cool to see that like just doing things that you're bad at will eventually become a strength. And that like gives me the confidence that like I can do it. And like I show up every day and I'm like, it's not like I'm out of shape. I'm just different. And that doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that it's different. And I might show up in a different way. Like, so I'm just doing things you're bad at, but also just showing up. And even when you don't know what you're showing up for, like show up for yourself. Right. And then things will fall into place.
Yeah. Is it common for swimmers to like have a athletic looking build or like look strong? I think that's very unique.
Sprinters, maybe sprinters, but even when I was in college, like nobody really looked. I feel like maybe it's more common now that like strength training is becoming a little bit more prominent in sports, but like that. But back then, no. Like even when I started swimming, like I would go to the swim meet and like people were like, "What do you do for work? Like how'd you get those muscles?" Like what's your workout routine?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. So definitely not super common, but like at the Olympic trial level, like everybody looks like me.
Where does your identity lie in fitness? Are you like, I'm a swimmer, I'm a CrossFit athlete, neither? Like what do you consider yourself?
When I first qualified for Olympic trials, I was like, I'm definitely a CrossFitter, but like I'm not good enough to be like a CrossFitter, but I don't swim enough to be a swimmer. So I'm just like, I'm neither.
Somewhere
I'm just like doing what I enjoy. Yeah. Just an athlete, I guess.
Do you see yourself getting into anything different in the future?
I don't know. Everybody around here does high rocks, and I'm like pretty good at those things.
So
I'm like,
catch on to it.
Maybe I'll do a high rocks.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
How's your running?
I'm a pretty good runner.
Yeah.
For being a swimmer, I'm like a pretty good runner.
Okay, I love it. What's next for you? So you've done a lot athletically. You've mentioned before like a desire to get into more of the coaching space. Where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years?
So I think I told you I've never been like super confident, even like as a swim coach. I've had a couple coaching opportunities and just never been super confident in that role. But I just got my nutrition coaching certification. Nice. So I'm starting with that, and hopefully that will like give me some confidence and I can branch out from there. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, the nutrition coaching stuff is the first step.
Yeah, that's really cool. Is there anyone you look up to just in life in general? This could be someone you know personally or someone that you don't know, and you just maybe listen to podcasts, read books, etc., that helps you kind of take on a better mindset and compete at the level you compete at?
I feel like most people maybe aren't like this, but like I'm like, not that people idolize people, but like I mean, I do listen to podcasts, but no, I guess the answer is no, not really. I just, yeah, no.
Yeah. It comes across as like very genuine the way you show up. Like you seem like you're just Kaitlyn.
Yeah.
Like,
And I think that's like part of it for me is like, you can't, what I found, like, I think that's part of how I found success is like just being yourself and not trying to be like somebody else, because what is good for and works for somebody else might not work for you, or maybe you're going to force yourself to do something that isn't in line with what you should be doing just because of somebody you look up to. Like, you just have to find what works for you.
Yeah. How'd you learn that lesson?
Honestly, I guess it would be, I was previously engaged and my fiance was not on board with my swimming career. And for a long time, like, I tried to fit into that mold of what he wanted me to be. And I got to the point where I was like extremely unhappy and it spilt over into like all other areas of my life. And so I think that's when I found out like this, like fitness is part of, like, yes, I competed at a high level, but just like I said earlier, like, I just wake up and come to the gym because that's part of who I am. Yeah. And he like didn't like that I was doing CrossFit. And I was like, that's who I am. And so it was a very hard lesson to learn, and sucks that I had to learn that way. But I think that's probably what it was, is just trying to fit into somebody else's box that wasn't for me.
Yeah. It's almost just like a non-negotiable for you. You can't take that away because it's part of your identity. It's a huge part.
Yes.
Like, take that away, like, who is Kaitlyn
what do I
now?
have? Yeah. I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah. Days are longer. Just going to be super bored.
Yeah. I mean, like, not that I don't have other, like, I love cooking. Like, not that I don't have other activities that I enjoy, but like, I enjoy, like, this makes me. Yeah. It's just what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Your like childhood growing up, were you ever, someone who was told like, hey, you're going to go do great things? Was it like ever like a seed was planted and was like, we're going to, whether it was a coach, parents, we're going to invest in Kaitlyn and she's going to go on to do great things? Or was it kind of just like learning later in life, hey, I'm pretty good at these things. I'm going to now invest in myself and do it on my own? Like, where did that desire for greatness come in?
Well, I guess, like I said, I was pretty talented for the swimming area that I came from. So, like, I guess starting to break records, like, pretty young, I was like, oh, like, I can do stuff here. But as you get better, obviously who you're competing against gets harder as well. So, I guess just always, like, rising to the occasion, right? Like, always just striving to be better. Like, I don't think anybody was like, oh yeah, Kaitlyn can make Olympic trials one day, because that wasn't it. It was like, definitely, like, I was talented, but it was definitely more so hard work than talent.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you notice anything that separated you from your peers or teammates, like even in college? Because you went on to do a lot more than some people have ever even thought of.
Yeah.
So was there a different way you were showing up? Was there a different way you were recovering, preparing outside of the pool? What made you a little bit different?
I guess maybe just like the love for the sport. Like, so many people that I swam with, maybe were just doing it because they got a scholarship, or like because they could, but they weren't interested in doing it any longer than they needed to. But like, I just simply loved swimming. So I was going to do, and if you're going to do something, like, you might as well do it to the best of your ability, right? So it was probably just that mindset, maybe.
That's really good.
Like, I wasn't just like going through the motions. Like, if I'm going to do something and put my time and effort into something, I'm going to try to be the best that I can be at it.
Do you hold that mindset for everything you do in life?
I would say yes. Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you think about success, how do you define it?
Happiness. And I know that sounds like so cliche, but like I said, I can look back at so many times in my swimming career where I could have gone like my second best time ever, but because it was 1/10 of a second slower than my best time, like, that wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And so just like, or throw my goggles, this and that. And it's just like, honestly, if I'm happy, then that's like all that matters. Like, I went to Olympic trials and I swam 3/10 slower than my qualifying time, and that was extremely disappointing. But the fact that I was even there to begin with, like that, the amazing story that led me there, and all my family and friends were there with like to celebrate with me. Like I didn't throw my goggles in the even in the locker room when nobody was looking at me. Like it was fine.
Yeah,
it's fine. I was happy. Yeah,
and happy you can do such small things to make yourself happy too. Like I always tell people, like if they're just feeling like they're down on themselves or they're in a rut, like do something for you today.
Right.
And that doesn't need to be like a full-on vacation and you need to like change up your entire routine. It could be like you say you walk your dog in the morning. Maybe that's your 10 minutes of just like, hey, I'm happy right now.
Yeah.
You know, it's never something that like needs to be put on the back burner, because you can quickly integrate like, I want to go outside, I want to walk the dog, lift weights, listen to my favorite song, like these little things that make you happy, and it changes the entire trajectory of your day.
It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did success look different for you at a younger age? Were you like ever thinking, hey, it needs to be athletic accomplishments, it needs to be money, it needs to be whatever, instead of the happiness that you think of today?
Yeah, for sure. It was like, I honestly, until I qualified for Olympic trials in 2016, like I would have told you that my swimming career was not that successful because I was never a winner. I never got first place, or like I'm divorced, so that would be a failure. Like I do not look at those things as failures now. Like that's part of who I am, and I'm way happier now than what I would have been before, trying to live up to something that wasn't for me. So
that's so good. What is something you believe that most people disagree with?
Most people disagree with. I knew you were going to hit me with this, and I still had nothing. I don't know.
No hot takes?
I'm so bad at hot takes. Oh, I wish you would have told me last night.
Yeah. We'll get it out of you sometime. Okay, so for someone who wants to be successful, they just don't know what path to go down, they feel lost, what advice would you give them?
Just keep showing up. I mean, to be honest, I've been lost like the last 3 months, like being here, like not really training for anything or knowing what I want to train for or what I want to do, but I still come to the gym and just show up and do it for me. And now here I am doing this competition, I guess. So just like do the work, even if you don't know when you're doing, like what you're doing it for.
Yeah.
Has been a common theme in my life. So
yeah, that's a good reminder. Like progress and accomplishment comes through taking action.
Yes.
Like you can't, I love the quote, you can't change the world from your couch. Like you can't just wait for something to change or things to get better and just be hands off. You have to actually put forth the action or do something that puts you in a better position, because or else you're just things are gonna keep being the same. You know, the definition of insanity, just doing the same thing over and over again. You can't expect different results.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Kaitlyn, it was an absolute pleasure for having you on. Thank you so much. And for the audience, if they want to follow along with your fitness journey, you post great content. Can you plug your social media?
At __ Kaitlyn, Kaitlyn Johnson __. Very common name. Times were tough.
Yeah. You like put that name in, and you're just like, all right, what can I put now?
Yeah.
_
Just
yep,
find anything.
I've been there. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And best of luck next weekend.
Thank you.
You're welcome.